There are 6 shots unique to pickleball that you need to know, and we're going to show you exactly how to do them so you can start leveling up your game right now.
If you like our content, consider subscribing, and let's dive into the first shot, the sliced serve. One of the fundamentals of pickleball is the serve. You have to hit it literally every single time that a rally begins. It's the #1 way you can gain an advantage on your opponent. So we want to make the serve as weaponized as possible. And how we do that is by making this ball have an unpredictable flight path and an unpredictable bounce. Whenever your opponent can't read the ball that's coming towards them, that's whenever they struggle to return your serves. So one way to do this might be to use a sliced serve. A lot of people have so much anxiety over the serve that they just try to get it in. But if you can use this simple and effective serve, you can turn all of that into a weapon for your game. Let's break down exactly how to do this serve. To start, I'd hold my paddle something like this, somewhere between this grip and this grip, so kind of like right here in the middle. And the reason we do this is because on this serve, I want to be able to get my paddle face, which is right here, pointing towards my target for the majority of it. But importantly, I want to be able to move it across my body. And so when I move it across my body, if there's a ball right here, I'm actually adding a lot of side spin to this ball, and that will impact its flight path as it goes through the air. So in this serve, if I start on the outside of my body and then go quickly towards the inside of my body, the ball will roll across my paddle very quickly, and all of this spin that I'm imparting on the ball makes it curve through the air, and then finally, whenever it hits the ground, it will kick and move away from my opponent. So one reason this is important is because it's hard to judge where that ball will actually land on the ground. And then secondly, whenever it hits the ground, it will kick, and you don't know how much it will kick. So that's also difficult to return. But probably the most important reason is because when this ball kicks, usually it will go towards the backhand of your opponent. And you know that at the early levels of pickleball, the majority of people have just pretty bad backhands. So if you can target that on your serve, you can usually win a lot of points as a result. If you're choosing to add the shot to your game, here's an advanced tip for you. You want to make the entire motion look just like every other serve that you have. We don't want to tip off our opponent that we're going to be hitting a slice, because then they'll be ready for it. So when you're in your motion, you should start with the exact same backswing that you typically have. But then somewhere around here, this is when we start the motion. Don't just go ahead and start over here like I see some people doing.
And before we continue with our list, we want to tell you about Swing Vision, who sponsored this video. Anytime you hit a shot close to the line, there's that awkward moment where someone has to make a judgment call whether that shot was in or out. But when you're using Swing Vision, you no longer have to make that call yourself because of their automatic line call system. Here's how it works. Simply attach your phone to the swing stick, then put it up on the fence, and you're ready to start filming your matches with an AI-powered referee at your disposal. If you ever have a dispute over a line call, simply tap the challenge button on your watch and you can view the last 3 shots plus whether they were in or out. You can even tap on the shot and play the video in slow motion so you can be 100% sure that the call was made and accurate. Not only do you get automated line calls, but you also get access to a ton of other powerful features like shot speeds, AI-generated highlights, and advanced shot analytics like how deep your serves were, how many third shots you got in, and so much more. It's like having a personalized coach always watching and analyzing your games.
Use our link below to get this $100 swing stick for free when you purchase a year of Swing Vision Pro. This gives you 30 hours of recording per month, so you can record hundreds of games for only $12 per month. This also comes with a 60-day money-back guarantee, so there's really no reason not to try it out.
So we just covered serves, but I want to emphasize that the goal of a serve is not necessarily to win the point outright, but instead to set up a bad return that allows you to hit a third shot drop that helps you move forward into the kitchen line with ease. So hopefully you've learned by now that drops are some of the most important shots in pickleball, but they're also notoriously one of the most difficult, especially when you have to drop a ball from your backhand. We see a lot of players struggle with this shot specifically early on, so we want to teach you the easiest way to hit drops with your backhand that makes the process very simple. So if you're struggling with drops on your backhand, here's the easiest solution. To make your life easier, I just want you to focus on 2 things: paddle angle and contact. So instead of trying to spin the ball, which a lot of players try to do by adding topspin with their backhand, all you really have to do is put the tip of your paddle above your wrist like this, and then focus on your paddle face angle, deflecting the ball upward in an arc that lands in your opponent's kitchen. The actual motion of the shot is incredibly simple. Our only goal is to redirect the pace that our opponents already provided. So the actual swing should be minimal, if not nothing, since our goal is not to add pace to the ball, simply to deflect it upwards and create that arc into the kitchen. I also like to encourage pickleball players to focus less on hitting the perfect drop that barely arcs over the net, and instead give yourself more margin with a higher shot. That way your drop has a better chance of going in. That will mostly come down to your paddle angle, so just focus on great contact when you hit the ball with your backhand and arc the ball over the net. It's that simple.
So now that you are able to hit drops, you have to assume that your opponent can hit good drops as well. So we want to make sure that we're able to handle a good drop from our opponent, and we know what to do in these two situations. The first situation is when they hit a good drop. So this is a drop that's landing kind of close to our feet and it's applying pressure to us. A lot of people in this position try to be aggressive on a shot like this. They want to put pressure on their opponent, but they're not exactly sure how to. So any single drop that is hit to them, they're trying to be aggressive and keep their opponents back. But the problem is that if your opponent hits a good drop, well, the purpose of the drop is to allow them to approach the kitchen. And so some drops you just can't really be aggressive on. And when you try, you're going to inevitably hit it into the net or long. So if your opponent is hitting a good drop, a simple solution is just to take one step back and then hit a soft, simple dink back over the net. So in this example, my opponent's hitting a third shot. I'm ready for it. They hit a good drop towards my feet. One step back, dink, and then back up. Sometimes you just have to concede that the ball that they hit was really good and you can't be offensive on it. The other thing that might happen here is if their drop is a little bit further than that, you're gonna have to take it out of the air. So when a ball is hitting you around your shins or your toes, it's really difficult to take a step back and still have time to hit it. So instead, a better solution is just to reach out in front before it ever gets to your shins or your toes and hit a very simple volley dink back over the net. Now this one takes some practice because that ball is coming at you with a decent amount of pace. So to control that pace, take all of it off and then hit a dink back to your opponents is difficult, but it's definitely a shot worth learning. The main objective here is just to have your paddle face pointing towards the right direction. If your paddle face is pointing down, you're gonna hit it into the net. If it's pointing too far up, you're gonna hit it up nice and high so that they can put it away easily. Now, of course, we wanna punish our opponents when they hit less than ideal drops. Now, a drop that might be less than ideal for them is one that lands in the middle of the kitchen and bounces up pretty high. Now, the reason this is less than ideal is because when it raises up, you're going to be able to make contact in front of your body and it's going to be close to the top of the net, so you can put a lot of pace on that ball and keep your opponents back. There are two important things I want you to think about when doing this. Number one is to get lower than the ball. So if the ball is bouncing and it's landing up here, make sure your paddle face is below the ball. And usually you do that by bending your knees and getting lower than it. And number two is to make sure you're making contact in front of your body. And the reason these two are so important is because when you get below the ball, you're able to brush up the backside of the ball. And that's how we generate topspin, which will be really important in just a second. And then number two, when that ball is in front of your body, it's just a much more comfortable position to make contact. And so you're able to hit more effective shots just depending on where that ball is in relation to your body when you're making contact. Now, this is what it looks like in practice. Just a simple brush up the backside of the ball and then quickly resuming ready position. That way you're ready for the next shot that comes back at you.
So we've talked a lot about what to do at the kitchen line, but we also need some weapons at the baseline. One of the most effective shots in pickleball when you have the right chance is to go for a heavy topspin drive. A lot of players like to hit the ball hard, but the issue is they often don't add enough topspin to keep that ball in the court, or even better, have it dip over the net immediately, landing shallow on our opponent's court. To hit that specific pickleball shot, we recommend a very heavy topspin drive, and thankfully we just learned the motion for it in our previous shot, and now we just add a couple extra steps. So think of this motion as a similar strike to that off the bounce speed up, but this time we're going to add more follow through and a closing of our hips during the shot to generate a bit more power. How it works is we want to hit the ball out in front of us, not to the side like this, and we want to get behind the ball when we make contact, focusing on a brushing motion that comes over the ball when we make contact that allows us to generate that topspin, which is what's going to keep the shot in the court rather than flying out. The difference with a topspin drive is as we make contact, we also want to close our hips. That way we generate more power in the shot, which is going to help us propel the ball over to the other side of the court. After that, we want to finish with a follow through over our shoulder, which ensures that we commit to the brushing motion, and then we snap back to ready position and get ready for the next shot. So same motion as that off the bounce speed up, but this time close the hips and then follow through once you're finished with the shot. The reason this shot can be a little bit different than tennis if you're coming from a tennis background is because paddles don't have strings like a tennis racket, meaning that in order to grip the ball and generate topspin, we're going to have to be incredibly intentional about brushing the ball with enough strength to keep it in the court. On top of that, a pickleball court is just smaller than a tennis court, so our margin of error is also smaller, meaning we need as much topspin as we can get to help our shots stay in the court.
One thing you might be struggling with is how to defend these heavy topspin drives. I'm going to give you a few tips so that you can handle these drives with ease. One of the first things to realize is that your opponents are putting a lot of pace on the ball, so you don't have to do too much to get that ball back to them. You don't have to have any big motion to generate power. You need to keep your motion compact so you can generate a lot of power back to them by using their own. My number one tip for blocking these hard topspin drives is to grip your paddle pretty hard. And the reason we do this is because we want to avoid our paddle twisting whenever the ball hits our paddle. So if you have a loose grip and you're trying to block a hard drive and they hit somewhere off center, it's really easy for that ball to push your paddle out of your grip and move it backwards. So if you have a strong grip, when that ball hits around the side, you can keep your paddle more firm, and then that puts a lot more momentum back into the ball so that it goes where you want it to go. The second tip is in your preparation. You want to make sure you have the tip of your paddle always pointing towards where the ball is on the court. That way you're ready for the drive whenever they hit it. When they hit a drive, you don't have a lot of time to react. So if you're holding your paddle down at your side, or you're just not very ready, you're not going to have a lot of time to react and hit a good drop. One of the best things you can do is be ready early. Pointing the tip of your paddle exactly at the ball isn't the whole story. Instead, you want to slightly shade towards your backhand side. Now, the reason we do this is because you can defend more of your body with your backhand than you can with your forehand. So if you're already tilted towards that way a little bit, it's quicker for you to get to that backhand position than if you were to be completely straight on. It just takes a little bit more time. Now, when you're in this backhand position, the motion of your shot is extremely compact. It's like a strong punch or just like a little jab you might do in boxing or something. It's just a quick punch like this. That way you keep the paddle in front of your body and you're not moving it back too far. And then also, you're still adding some pace going into the ball, which helps even more so with resisting the twist that the ball wants to put on your paddle whenever it hits it. Now, finally, some more advanced tips on this. If you want to angle the ball in different directions, it's extremely simple. Instead of holding your paddle flat, just slightly tilt it to one side or the other. That way, when the ball hits your paddle, you'll punch it in the direction wherever your paddle face is facing. These faces aren't extremely flexible, so wherever your paddle face is facing is generally where the ball goes. And then finally, one last advanced tip. You want to really avoid having your paddle face up, because if you try to punch like this, you're going to pop the ball straight up. But at a higher level, when they're hitting really good drives and they're dipping below the net, it is to your benefit to have your paddle face up, but to not add as much punch. This way, when the ball hits your paddle, it'll just gently pop over the net, back into the kitchen for a reset, so that you can then resume the point from a better position.
And for our final tip on this list, let's cover another way to keep our opponents from attacking, and that's by simply keeping them back at the baseline so they never get the chance. Rolls are shots unique to pickleball where we're hitting from the ground very low and brushing up on the ball with enough topspin to keep our opponents back at the baseline on the other side of the court. The motion of a roll is incredibly simple. Our only goal is to add as much topspin as possible and again, arc it back over the net. That's kind of been the theme of this whole video. On our forehand side, we'll take the ball low to the ground, again, try to hit out in front of us, and then brush up over the top of the ball in a short motion that again just adds topspin and pushes it over the net. Pretty similar concept on the backhand, but I'll say with this one, sometimes it feels like it requires more wrists in order to actually get the topspin. We'll address that more later, but same concept, ball comes low, and we brush over the back of the ball and roll it up and out over the net again. This does a couple of strong things. It allows us to hit offensive shots even when our opponent hits a solid drop at the kitchen line, which then forces them to stay back because we're able to hit shots at their feet when we use a roll. This is one of the best ways to stay dominant at the kitchen line, which is why it's essential to becoming a great pickleball player. But one of the biggest ways to make it effective is to keep it simple. We want to make sure the actual swing motion is as short as possible. That way we're also able to get back to ready position as fast as possible. We also don't want to do rolls when we're too far extended. If a ball is too far out wide, this is not a good time to try to time a lot of complicated motions. Instead, just like we mentioned earlier, better to step back and reset with a dink. But when your opponent hits a solid drop that is maybe a little bit too deep, that is the best time to try a roll, either on your forehand or backhand side. Now you know these 6 pickleball shots that will take your game to the next level.
If you found this video helpful, make sure you subscribe, and YouTube thinks you'll really like this video next. It's probably also helpful, so you should click on it.
Yeah.